Hi everyone. Today what we're going to do is a short review of the middle years American social theory. The paper is due today, so what I would do normally is collect your papers and just give you a brief, overview, kind of what we've been doing so far in this section of the class. So that's what I'm going to do today. Nice kind of short lecture, but kind of summarizing what we've been doing so far in this second part of the class. So when looking at the middle years, again, we're looking at the 1930s to the mid 1970s, more or less. And when focusing on American social thought during this time period, we're basically looking at how people were starting a new theoretical thread. And they're starting a new thread of theory because they were reacting against this classical theorists that we discussed earlier in the semester. So they're reacting against Durkheim, Weber, George Simmel, who we talked about briefly, and Marx as well. And the reactions basically, we're going to break it down to more micro level focus, and we're going to not ignore social structures, but we're going to try to highlight agency more so than the classical theorist. And eventually, a lot of these ideas that we discussed with Du Bois, Cooley, and Mead, they evolved into what we now call symbolic contractionism, kind of the American social theory that focuses more on that social psychological level. So not only were these theorists reacting against the classical theorist by bringing it down to the micro level by further highlighting agency, they're also reacting against popular psychological theories of the time. So Freudian thoughts was popular, behaviorism was popular, and the social theorists were trying to say that, we do have a very high sense of awareness. We're aware of kind of the choices we make or don't make. We anticipate, we deliberate, and we make choices. So getting away from Freudian thought that focused on the unconscious, here we bring it to the very level of awareness and focus on how people are conscious in terms of kind of what we do and what we don't do. We do have the ability to make choices. And so again, kind of going against Freudian thought, bringing it to the level of consciousness rather than unconsciousness. And then also they're shifting away from behaviorism because again, you're thinking about what you're doing. There's cognition involved rather than simply reacting to some type of stimulus. And so that's what we're looking at in terms of, going against a classical theorist, going against other popular psychological theories, and starting a new theoretical thread. And, doing this review, we can just say that, there's this focus on that micro level. And you can see the focus on self-change and the Adlers, self-development with Cooley and Mead, self-development with Du Bois as well. And but Veblen, he's not kind of the traditional symbolic interactionist like we would label the Adlers or Cooley and Mead and Du Bois, perhaps. But you can see that same focus on self when he's focusing on self-presentation. Basically how people will use all these symbolisms, the clothing we wear, how we decorate our homes to present ourselves to others. So that's basically, we can say, a focus on the self and all the readings we've done in this part of the class. And then other common themes we see is bringing it down to the micro level, focusing on agency and also the role of psychological tension. And so with Veblen, we really didn't see that psychological tension being that driving force in the theory. He focuses more on kind of the instinctual desires to dominate. But nevertheless, what we saw in the other theories, Du Bois, the Adlers, Cooley, Mead, the role of psychological tension, kind of producing the realities in which people are living and acting. So that's what I wanted to do today, is basically kind of look back on what we did in this part of the class, the middle years, American social thought, and we'll be turning the corner to another section of the middle years, but turning to European social thought, going back to some of the ideas that we discussed earlier with Marx, with Weber, and Durkheim as well.